Shemai, continuing with my videos looking at the basics for our bass, I'm going to take a look at right hand technique today. So let's talk about plucking. So I've already done a video talking about left hand technique and finger placement and all that sort of thing. So today I'm going to be looking at this, our right hand. Now, unfortunately, it always seems to be the thing people don't look at so much. They look at their left hand where they should be placing fingers, notes, scales and all that kind of thing. But quite often our right hand gets neglected, and I'm very much a believer that if you can start off with a good technique, right hand and left hand, that is going to really help you on your bass learning. And I'm talking about right hand technique using a mini bass at the minute, or in fact a tiny bass, but this also works for bass guitars and of course our electroacoustic basses, including ukulele basses or bass ukuleles or bass ukes or U-basses, whatever you want to call them. So first of all, where should you be plucking your strings? Now this is going to change on different instruments, but really you want somewhere initially anyway to rest your thumb, and of course a pickup would be an ideal place. But we've got to remember that pickups can be in different places, even on our mini basses. So this one, which has got a jazz pickup configuration, has got two pickups on there, a neck pickup and a bridge pickup, and realistically your thumb could rest on either of those. And even on solid body bass ukuleles, or in this case a U bass, this one doesn't have magnetic pickups because it's all down here in a piezo pickup, but this one has got a scratch plate or pick guard that I could rest my thumb on. And of course we've got our electroacoustics. This one is a U bass, but there are plenty of ukulele basses or bass ukuleles that look like this one. Piezo pickup is down here, so certainly no pickup to rest your thumb on. Really, you could sort of float your thumb above or just very gently rest it on the top of the instrument. But what you can find for these basses, I've never done it myself, I've thought about it, is you can either buy a dedicated small thumb rest. Carla actually make them that you can stick on the front of your bass, so you've got somewhere to sort of anchor your thumb, or indeed have a go of making your own. They tend to be quite cumbersome bits and wood and things, but there are plenty of ideas for it on the internet. Now actually, when I first moved across to one of these, I'd never really played an acoustic or an electroacoustic bass before, and I found myself sort of resting my thumb up here to start with, but very soon I found that just wasn't really good enough because you've got to stretch your hand so far across. So the big gap from there to say bit closer where a normal pickup would be, say on a bass guitar. All right, so I wouldn't really recommend resting your thumb up there just because you've got to overstretch your hand when you do that. You could always rest your thumb again on the end of the fingerboard. By there, that does give you somewhere as a little bit of an anchor. And yeah, I spend a little bit of time going through the different instruments because with different pickups and different shapes of instruments and where the pickups are situated, there are quite a few different places you could consider to rest your thumb, or not in some cases. So yeah, on a pickup, but depends where the pickup is. Maybe just touching the top of the instrument or even floating your thumb across as you move, but that is quite difficult. And resting your thumb either on a thumb rest that you've put on yourself or on the string itself. But again, what I would say, if you're an absolute beginner, just to start with, resting on the pickup is probably your best option. But I will talk in a minute more about resting your thumb on your strings. So which fingers should you use? Okay, I always recommend your index finger and your middle finger. Okay, so if you're resting your thumb on your pickup. I'm going to switch the bass on for a minute. So all I'm doing is literally walking my fingers. So a question I get asked a lot, which finger should you start with, index or middle? Now then, I don't really have an answer to that. It's whatever is most comfortable for you. I've sort of analysed myself over the years playing, and I've discovered that in fact my lead finger is my middle finger. All right, I'm not saying I always start with my middle finger, okay, but generally I tend to lead with my middle finger. And remember as well, if you play piano, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we're playing bass, our first finger or our index finger, 1, middle finger, 2. Sometimes you will see it written down, especially in books, as I and M, index, middle. So you're aiming to walk your fingers, middle, index, M, I, 2, 1, 2, 1. All right, it really is up to you. If I went the other way, it would just be index, middle, index, middle, index, middle, index, middle, I, M, 1, 2, 1, 2. Once you've been playing a while and you've established a good basic technique, you won't even be thinking index, middle, index, middle. It'll just happen. It's a bit like walking. You don't think left foot forward, right foot forward, left. You just do it, and that's what will happen, but it is good to get it right from the beginning. Again, this is aiming at beginners, all right? I know that there are loads of techniques out there using 1, 2, 3 in various combinations, and there are lots of players who play with their thumbs, okay? I have no issue if that's what you really want to do, that is fine. But my logical brain tells me that 2 fingers can go faster than 1 thumb, okay? So that's why I tend to sort of say to beginners, index, middle fingers are the best choice, at least to start with. So how do you pluck the strings? This is something that I talk about from absolute day one playing bass. You pull the strings across the top of the instrument. You don't pull them away, okay? First of all, it sounds so much better. Okay, you get a nice full bass sound compared to if I'm pulling it away. You lose all the tone and you gain a twang. Not good. So which bit of your fingers do you want to be playing? Ideally, the fleshy part of your finger going up towards the tip. Not right on the tip, okay, but sort of fleshy towards the tip. And really important at this point, make sure your nails are short enough. I know there are some bass players out there who like that clicky sound. I am not one of those, okay? Bass players, nail clippers, essential bits of kit in your pocket at all times, okay? Because there is nothing worse than turning up to a gig or a rehearsal and you actually start to catch your nail. Now, my nails are a bit short to demonstrate that today, but a previous me did. Right, I'm actually about to record a different video entirely. The reason I am just recording this bit very quickly is you may then have noticed some clicking when I'm playing. Hear that click? Hear it? It's happening with this one as well. All it is, my nails are a bit too long. Now, I've been wanting to do this video, in other words, talking about right hand technique and plucking for quite a while. And you could guarantee that my future self, when I actually go to record this video, I wouldn't have the perfect nail length to show you exactly what I mean, that you need to keep your nails short enough. Yeah, I've been planning this video for a long time, and I had the sense when I was cutting my nails one day to think, right, actually, let's demo this. So you're aiming to pull across, not away from the string. I know that there are times when you want to get various sounds from getting those percussive sounds, especially, you know, when you're slapping and thumping and popping and all that kind of thing, all right? But I'm aiming this video at beginners, where to start to get a really good basic right hand technique. So how hard should you be plucking the strings? The easy answer is lightly. Your amp should be doing all the work. I'm barely touching the strings. Okay, now then, I say this really seriously for a number of reasons. Okay, first of all, you are going to end up with very sore fingers initially if you're over plucking the strings. Okay, secondly, you can actually cause permanent damage to your hands if you are over plucking. Now then, the reason your amp should be doing all the work. All right, there is only so much you can physically do to alter how loud or how quiet you were playing. I'll give you a fantastic example. I've done a gig fairly recently where I wasn't in charge of sound. The sound guy came over and turned the amp down. I'd already set what I thought was a reasonable sound for where I was standing and from where the audience were. I knew it was too quiet. I couldn't get back to the amp during the gig to reset it. And I ended up, because I was thinking, play a bit harder, so I go a bit louder. Oh, the blisters I got on my fingers just from that one gig. Okay, so it's really important you leave your amp do the work, not try and get louder just through your fingers. If you think you were too loud when you're playing, you've got a volume knob on there, turn it down, okay? But the worst thing you can be doing is trying to overplay your fingers to get yourself louder, because there is only so much you can do without that amp going louder, okay? So yeah, how hard should you be plucking? Very lightly, because apart from anything else, you're using less energy, which is great. And if you're doing it lightly, the chances are your fingers are much closer to the string. Therefore, you're actually going to be able to play faster as well. Okay, you also need to have quite a relaxed right hand. And I'll tell you now, all right, if you're plucking too hard, it is unlikely your hand is going to be relaxed. So you need to find yourself a comfortable position. There are times when I'm playing, I might be in the middle of a gig and concentrating on something, and I can feel my hand tensing up, and that's generally because I've got myself into the wrong position and my wrist becomes too bent up. All right, so it's finding that position where you're quite relaxed when you're playing, not, okay, that is too much, but also if I'm resting my wrist, all right, too relaxed on the bass bar there, I'm actually going to struggle moving my fingers faster, okay, because you're sort of stopping the movement from your hand. So as relaxed as you can when you're playing. See, straight off like that, I know I'm fairly relaxed now. Okay, I did say right at the beginning of the video I was going to talk about this again, and it is really important, but I don't want beginners really stumbling on this one thing, okay? This is actually quite important when you're playing, and it will help you so much better once you get a better technique. But if you can do this from the very beginning, you're not having to relearn how to do something, okay? So this time, as if I'm starting the video from the beginning, okay, where should you put your thumb? Ideally on a string, all right? I'm actually resting my thumb on my E string there, all right? And it suddenly means now I've got a nice relaxed hand, okay? But I can actually reach across a bit better to my other strings as well. And eventually you might find you're able to move your thumb across as you're playing as well. Now the reason I don't say you should put your thumb on your string to start with is, as an absolute beginner, all right, if you've got your thumb on your E string and you play your E string, you can't. All right, so I want you to be able to freely move across the strings, all of them, when you're starting off. All right, and if you've got your thumb on your E string, that is a bit difficult. But at least if you're open to the idea that your thumb could come away from the pickup and maybe rest on the string, all right, in the long run, you will find that a much, much better prospect, is being able to actually move your thumb as you're playing, for two reasons. First of all, as I just said, you'll be able to get across and move around a lot quicker, but also, and this is the last thing I'm going to talk about, is the muting aspect of it, okay? Bass guitar strings, open strings in particular, ring on. I am going to do a lesson very soon on muting because it's really important on our basses, because our strings ring on a lot, all right? But putting your thumb on a string, that immediately helps with muting because you're muting your E string. So let's just say you were playing A and you're resting your thumb on the E string. What you're doing in effect is bringing your first and middle finger, when you're plucking it, to your thumb and stopping there. All right, and then the next time your finger goes down, it mutes it, okay? Happens if you go across the strings. But of course, your left hand can do a lot of muting as well. As I said, I'm going to do a video on muting. So it's just something to mention. You can use your right hand to mute. You can even use your thumb to mute your strings and stop them ringing, especially the opens. So where to put your thumb when you're playing, which fingers to use to pluck your strings, how to pluck your strings, plucking them across. Keep your nails short so you don't get that clicking sound when you're playing. Which finger should you start with? Whichever one you prefer, but keep alternating them. How hard to pluck your strings? Lightly. Relax your right hand when you're playing, okay? It will help. And you can rest your thumb on a string, and in fact that actually helps with muting. I've only scratched the surface of right hand technique today. You know, I haven't even looked at things like palm muting or using your thumb or slapping it or using multiple fingers and raking and all those kinds of things, all right? But I'm aiming this video today at beginners and those of you who may have taught yourself and were never really shown good right hand technique. So that's right hand technique, basic for beginners on our mini basses, but of course you can use it on your bass ukuleles, your U basses, bass guitars, whatever bass you've got. I have got a Patreon site if you'd like to support me here on Ukulele Wales or my other channel, the Ukulelians. I'll pop a link in the description below for that. As always though, if you've got any comments or questions, please feel free, leave them below. Give us a like if you've enjoyed, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on new videos. Thank you for watching.